Hello everyone, good afternoon. Welcome to Aceh Institute Newsroom. And as you know, the Aceh Institute is a local non-government organization focusing on research for policymaking, including peace building agenda in Aceh. So today we are to discuss about the Reconciliation and Commission in Aceh, or KKR Aceh. So for information, that Aceh Institute has produced more than 40 videos regarding the Aceh peace building. So if you want to know much about the video, you can visit this link. Okay. Regarding to discuss this topic about the Truth and Reconciliation Commission in Aceh, or KKR Aceh, so we have invited our special guest from Australian National University. She is Dr. Leah Ken. Good afternoon, Leah.
Good afternoon.
Yeah. She is research fellow of Australian National University, Canberra, Australia. So we will try to get information from her regarding the existence of the reconciliation, the Truth and the Reconciliation Commission in Aceh. So the topic will focus on the existence of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission in Aceh. So before we discuss more technical aspect of the TRC, or KKR Aceh, first of all, let's ask you the question. What is your opinion regarding the presence of TRC in Aceh? I believe you update with the political issue in Aceh. So what is your opinion regarding
My opinion
the TRC?
regarding...
Yeah.
Okay, I am still quite new to Aceh, so I am learning a lot from friends like you and in the NGO community. And most of my research, as you know, has been in Timor-Leste, so that is really my expertise. But I think, yeah, for me, KKR Aceh, I think it's an important start. It's an important start in the process of truth and reconciliation. It will probably be a long road ahead, but I think it can be an important starting point for beginning to discuss the time of the conflict in Aceh.
Okay, regarding the time, do you think it's too late to establish the TRC or KKR Aceh? Because based on the regulation, we should establish this organization long time ago, like we said, like 10 years ago. But unfortunately, this organization just started. So do you think it can influence the effectiveness of the institution to build the peace in Aceh?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think there are both pluses and minuses of the fact that it is now 10 years past the MOU. As you know, in Timor-Leste, the TRC was implemented quite soon after the referendum process, and there were many, many competing priorities at that time. So the TRC was part of a bigger picture of state building, constitution writing, all of these tasks going on. So in some ways, I think it was harder for the population to focus on the TRC at that time. In Aceh, I think in some ways it's an advantage that you have 10 years on. You have now time to build support amongst the community, to build social movements around the TRC, to really try and make the TRC as locally engaged as possible. Okay. So that's the positive side. On the negative side, I would say yes, there will be some challenges because it's now 10 years after the conflict. Certainly from my experiences so far, going to some communities in Aceh, some people say they don't want to talk about the past anymore because they don't want to open old wounds, and they feel as though they have already moved on from the past. So I think that's the challenge that you will face in Aceh. But I think, again, if you approach this topic slowly and you give the community time, maybe over time you will overcome those difficulties.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, how to engage the broad community of Aceh to support so that this institution will succeed in the future. Okay, let's move to another question. Learning from the Timor-Leste, you have much experience on it. So compared to Timor-Leste, what factor we have to include to build this TRC? Because currently, maybe what I have known is only that there are very lack of supporting from the local government. So what compared to Timor-Leste, what factor we have to really involve to support this institution?
Yeah, I think that's crucial. Building political will for this process and ownership from the political community from the outset is really important. I think one of the problems in Timor-Leste was you had a lot of international influence on the TRC process. So maybe that contributed to the fact that the political leadership is now distancing itself from the recommendations of the CAVR report. So I think, yes, taking time to build political will is really crucial, and to build support from all sectors of the society, I think, too. You need to reach out to the ulama and the religious community. You need to reach out to the students. You need to reach out to many sectors.
Okay. That's really good suggestion, so that we hope that the policymaker could hear our discussion, so that they can consider our discussion will be part of the one consideration, so that they can fix if something still not okay in establishing the KKR or TRC project. All right. Learning also from the Timor-Leste, I think why we have take the Timor-Leste as an example, because Timor-Leste has passed this issue, right? So how long we need time to really what we need to fulfill any the right of the victim of the conflict based on the Timor-Leste case.
Yes, and this is where I think Aceh has an advantage over Timor-Leste, because the Truth Commission in Timor-Leste was only a 2-year process, so it was quite short, and it took quite a long time to build trust, community trust, in particularly in the reconciliation process, particularly in perpetrators wanting to come forward. So it was really only at the end of the process that many people were interested to take part in the commission. By that stage, it was too late. So I think one advantage Aceh has is that you have an ongoing, you have an open-ended mandate for the KKR. You're not limited by a short time frame. So I think that's going to be an advantage in the future. Of course, one of the problems Timor-Leste is going to face is that your commission is a provincial level commission. Probably you're going to ask that question next, I guess.
Yes, because Timor-Leste is like a state level, and Aceh is provincial level.
Yes.
So it's automatically very hard to, let me say, to get supporting from other states.
Yes. And actually, this is a very unusual model for truth commissions. Usually they are national, state level commissions. So this model is actually quite unusual. So it will be interesting to see how it happens. How it unfolds over time, and obviously this will limit the mandate, and will probably limit the extent to which the TNI and others will be involved in the commission. So yeah, I think there will be some challenges obviously ahead for the KKR because of that. But as one NGO representative I met said to me recently, yes, we understand all this, but it's still better to have something rather than nothing. If we keep waiting for the National Commission, maybe we'll be waiting for 100 years. So at least maybe this is the start of a process. But I would suggest, perhaps you don't expect too much from this commission, but you see it as part of a long-term process that is going to take many years.
Yeah, it is like a good starting point.
A starting point, yeah.
All right, I agree with you. And you just mentioned actually, because we have a different level of this institution. This one is provincial level, Timor-Leste is like a state level. And you just mentioned that this is something unusual. So, do you know how to solve the problem? Because, like you say, we will have like the authority and the mandate to open the relationship with others, to get the supporting, to be to invite in Aceh. You have maybe what the idea to solve the problem?
Yeah, that's going to be. I don't really know if I have an answer to that, but I think probably you have to engage in ongoing lobbying on this issue to maintain the political support locally for it, and maybe you still want to keep the idea of a national commission alive as well for down the track. So yeah, I don't necessarily have a quick solution on that one, but
yeah, probably the national commission we still we don't have it now.
Yeah, I know.
The legislative is still processing that.
Yes.
And we expect that the law will come soon, but I don't know when.
Yes.
Do you think this? Let me connect to the national political issue. Do you think because of this is related to Aceh, then the government tried to block by not making the law? Because in the law, in the Aceh law said that Aceh, KKR Aceh or TRC Aceh is related to the national TRC. This is like a political strategy played by the central government.
To block the this provincial commission, or
Yeah.
you think that they might block this commission?
Yes.
Quite possibly. Yeah, I think this is something that you will need to be very careful about in the future to see. Yeah, and also I guess there's potential for intimidation as well from the TNI. So I think it's something that you will need to monitor very, very carefully.
Exactly. We will ask many people, especially TNI and also Free Aceh movement. Yeah, this is very hard to work.
Yeah, yeah. So I think it's probably too early to say how it's going to unfold, but I think if you can build the local political support for it, that's a good start. And I think regardless of all the limitations of the KKR, there will probably be many limitations. I think one thing that it will be able to do, hopefully, is to start to uncover some of the patterns of human rights violations that occurred during the conflict and to try to develop more of a systematic record of the human rights violations in the past. So that is one thing that in Timor-Leste there is now, the Truth Commission was able to complete a report, a final report called Shega, which is an excellent resource. It is, 2,000 pages long record of the 24 years of the conflict. And this has become a really great resource because it can be used in many ways. For example, for photo exhibitions, for comic books, for at the moment there is discussion about including this report in the history curriculum in the school. So I think regardless of all the limitations about who is going to participate in the KKR, at least if you can undertake a really strong fact-finding process as part of the KKR, this will be a really useful resource for the future.
Okay, good. I have another question for you. Let me say, since the differences between Timor-Leste and Aceh, how do you see ex-combatant and civil society argue regarding the TRC?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
What is the opinion between ex-combatant and civil society regarding the presence of the TRC in Timor-Leste?
In Timor-Leste?
Yeah.
Okay.
What is their opinion?
Their opinion? Okay, of the TRC. Well, the TRC was mostly focused on victims' experiences, so on civilians' experiences, so it didn't really cover the experiences of the former combatants so much. So I guess one issue you have now is that the focus of the government is much more on supporting the former combatants than on the civilian victims.
Okay, how far they support? For example, does the government give something like economic supporting or political supporting by providing like special seat in the parliament for them, for example?
Yes, they don't have reserves, they don't have special seats, but certainly many of them receive pensions, veterans' pensions. So that is the way in which the issue of the former combatants has been resolved. But as in many contexts, there has been really a lack of coordination between the transitional justice process and the process of demobilization of combatants. So really you had these processes happening very separately from one another, and this is often a problem in post-conflict contexts. So you have had the Truth Commission running, and now you have a process to support veterans. But actually what we can see is that the civilians are receiving a lot less in terms of financial assistance than the veterans. So this is kind of a legacy of the disjointed nature of these two processes.
Okay, overall, do the, let me say, Timor-Leste society are happy by having their TRC?
That's a difficult question to answer because I think people have mixed feelings about the TRC. Obviously, I think certainly based on my research with people who participated in the TRC around the country, many of them are happy with aspects of it. So people feel quite strongly that it's important to have the historical record. They feel happy to have been part of that historical record and to have contributed to that. The minor perpetrators who participated in the reconciliation process also feel that it was helpful for them to reintegrate.
Okay.
Having said that, there are still expectations, I think, particularly from the victims, because many of them feel that they did not gain financial assistance through the reconciliation process. So there are still outstanding desires for some kind of assistance from the state And also because, as you know, the formal justice process was quite problematic. There's been, in a way, a disconnection between the fact that the smaller perpetrators have had to go through this process, but the senior leaders, the military, the TNI, many of them remain, they have not been prosecuted.
Okay.
So there is a sense of a sense of unfairness. Okay, people are happy. Unfairness. Like people are happy to have had the CAVR, happy to have talked, but they're like, well, why are the senior leaders still free?
Still free, not executed. Okay.
Not prosecuted.
Okay. Okay, we still have like 1 more minute.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Maybe one last question is.
Okay.
So just now you have mentioned that the disadvantage of the TRC in Timor-Leste. So now we back to the Aceh. So do you think this model in Timor-Leste model, TRC Timor-Leste model, can or is good to be adopted in Aceh, so that maybe some commissioner can learn from Timor-Leste and then they implement here in Aceh? What do you think?
Certainly, I think there's a lot that can be learned from Timor-Leste and also from many other truth commissions that have taken place around the world. I mean, my strong view is that you cannot ever transplant one commission and put it in a different place. Aceh's commission will have to be unique to Aceh and will need to take into consideration the political and cultural and social context of Aceh. I think one thing that can be learned from Timor-Leste is that the mixing of customary dispute resolution practices, so the inclusion of ADAT in the CAVR, in the reconciliation process, was a real strength, because in Timor-Leste people still use their local customary dispute resolution practices in their everyday life to resolve conflict. So the fact that the CAVR used these processes as part of the reconciliation process was a real strength and gave it legitimacy. So I imagine in Aceh maybe there are some similar ADAT customary law processes that can be incorporated. But I would say it still needs to be an Aceh-specific process. Can learn from other places, but cannot just necessarily transplant another model into Acehnese society.
All right, Dr. Lia Ken, Research Fellow of ANU. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Hi, channel. All right, so everyone, this is the end of our discussion. Hopefully, this discussion will bring something for you. And bye for now. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.